Hey everybody, it's Justin Scoffle here. Been a long time since I've done a video like this. I've kind of been in the dark, so I figured I would come to give an update on not only the Zelda hack, but also just my channel and kind of what I've been doing and plans I have for the future. I've done this before, didn't exactly, stick through with my plans, but I think at this point, I'm in a much more productive, kind of stable place in my life where I feel like I can kind of commit to things, and especially if I'm engaging with people, that kind of helps with my motivation. I've gotten a couple emails from people about the ROM hack, and then I've just had people visiting my website. I see the traffic, so I know there's obviously like a hankering for some Oracle of Secrets. So I want to give people a feeling like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, or at least like some sense of progression, and then also not just acting like I've completely disappeared, because that's just not the case. I've been here the entire time. I see everybody's emails. If you've emailed me asking for the ROM of the game, you just want to try and play it, you just want to see how it is in its current form, I am still 100% okay with giving that out. Obviously, I don't have it uploaded online for obvious reasons, but I'm perfectly fine with setting out a patch or the ROM itself. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I guess I will. But so yeah, if you're interested at all, you can reach out to me if you're interested in kind of giving feedback. There are some like Link to the Past related Discords that I'm a part of. You can add me on Discord. I'll kind of put a few different things in the description. I've ran like a blog for the hack. I haven't updated as much, kind of due to the reasons I'll get to in a moment, but it is there. You can see that I'm still uploading my personal blog, which is kind of like where my life's at. So, I actually do write on that. That's the one thing I have been pretty consistent about. A couple times a month, I will actually just kind of journal blog. So that's available on Zenaya. I can put that there. So basically, I'm going to explain kind of my relative absence. A lot of it has to do with school. So I'm, going to college right now, studying computer science. A lot of stuff I've had to work on, like getting into my calculus classes, doing well in that, science classes, and then with the whole COVID things going online, had to work on disciplining and motivating myself, because there's a huge lack of motivation that came with that whole online thing, as well as me just actually working on my own programming skills. I've done a lot of reading in this time. I work with C++, Lisp, and PHP primarily. Those are the languages I think that I've kind of settled on. I started with Python, started with C, but as I've progressed, I've kind of preferred these programming languages. I've also just been working on like music production and practicing the piano using Logic Pro. Kind of my goal is, after Oracle of Secrets, or even kind of concurrently with Oracle Secrets, I want to program my own games, probably in C++ or even maybe Lisp. And I want to make the music for them too. I want that to be like original. And I've got like other projects in the works in terms of music, but those are kind of like my goals primarily. And getting to the YouTube stuff, getting to the Zelda hack stuff, it's kind of just been like hard to find the time, hard to find the motivation. I'm working part-time while going to school. And then once the summer started, it was kind of just like I wanted a break. I just wanted to relax. I did a lot of reading, did a lot of studying, and it just wasn't the main thing. Now, I say that, but I have actually gotten around a few times, in the last couple months or so, to just be a part of the Discord groups, and that's at 0.42. We're actually on version 0.50, so 50. Whatever you want to call that. Doesn't really denote that it's like halfway through anything. It's just kind of the version number that I've assigned to this ROM. It's just going through the process of actually updating the version number and the dialogue. That's a whole thing in itself. But it's just been, in terms of where I'm at versus 2017, there's a lot of changes, but also not that many. Not as many as I probably would like. So in 2017, a lot of the overworld was finished, and I was working on, I had finished up the 4th dungeon haphazardly, and I was working on the 5th dungeon, 6th dungeon. I kind of started the layouts for them. Those dungeons include the desert mine, that's the 4th dungeon, the water temple under, Sunken City, that's the 5th dungeon, and then the ice mansion in the mountains, that's the 6th dungeon, kind of inspired by Twilight Princess. Underwater City is kind of like a more Zelda kind of Bioshock kind of thing I wanted to go for, and then the mine is just very straightforward. But around like 2018, when I started working on it, I just started feeling kind of unsatisfied with some of the overworld areas. So to kind of procrastinate working on the dungeons, I just went full in on overworld rehauling and changing up a lot of areas. The village has undergone some changes. These are some spare tiles that I haven't utilized entirely. And then also just like this region in general got a lot of touching up. The forest got expanded greatly. That kind of happened more in 2019. Trying to think what else happened. I've done a lot of just cleaning up, housekeeping. Since I'm studying program, I'm studying program. Since I'm studying program, I said it again, holy shit. Since I'm studying programming and I've used the C language, let's get this out of me, I've also kind of dabbled with the Hyrule Magic source code. I got it from somebody on the Discord channel, the Zelda hacking Discord channel, or Discord. It's the channel. I am just losing my mind right now. So I've been tinkering with the code to try and make some features and improvements to Hyrule Magic that make editing easier, because as any of you know by the the Hyrule Magic tutorial I started and ultimately did not finish making, Hyrule Magic is a little difficult to work with, and I've just been, with my limited knowledge, because it is a very complex, very old code base that we're working with Hyrule Magic, I've added a couple quality of life features to help me with editing in the overworld. So a lot of like where there isn't as much progress in terms of this game, there has been more progress in terms of like my workflow and how I address certain things. Like I made it so I could look up like certain overworld tiles by ID, which was like a huge gripe I had with Hyrule Magic that's not able to do. But it's not exactly the most stable editor either. Like it completely corrupts your dungeons in the current form it's in, so I wouldn't like really recommend it for production use. You kind of have to mix the overworld editor and the quality of life features that come with the the new version that we've been working on, myself, and mostly Math on Napkins. I'm not trying to say like I've been working on it. Most of all the changes I've made have been on my local copy of the program, but Math on Napkins did a great job of refactoring and working on that code, so that has kind of assisted greatly, not only in my motivation working on the hack, but also just my ability to have a productive workflow. Shit, I didn't mean to do that. We might be stuck like this. Alright, yeah, no we're not. So that's something that contributes a lot to a bit of the slog that we have. But so I was talking about the 4th, 5th, and 6th dungeon. 4th dungeon has a ton of bugs. It has some problems. I went through some rooms that I probably shouldn't have, and there's just some things that I gotta address. There's a lot of bug testing to do with that dungeon. 5th dungeon, the original design was not, it just wasn't as good as it could have been. It wasn't as interconnected. There's a lot of teleports for some reason, and I didn't feel like I utilized the water features enough, so I deleted a lot of rooms in that and started restructuring it in a way that I think is a lot more, just it uses space in a much more productive manner. And that's primarily what I was working on last time I touched the game, probably a month or two ago. And I want to try to keep working on that. So that doesn't have exactly the best cutoff. I'll have to work on that. I want to kind of try to keep working on that dungeon, because that's something I kind of struggle with in general with this hack, is just finishing dungeons. That kind of started with the 4th dungeon, and even with the 2nd dungeon there was a lot of backtracking, and me fixing those backtracking issues was it was just disheartening. You come up with a concept for something and then you become stubborn and you don't want to change it much. So I do have to work on that. And then the 6th dungeon, it's not taking a huge precedent right now. It's in my thoughts, but I want to finish up this 5th dungeon as well as fix up more overworld areas. And just in general, I guess I kind of want to know like what people, you know, I don't want to I don't want to rush this game, but I also feel bad that there's so many people who are, you know, looking for something to play, looking for something to do. And, you know, if you're interested in the progress of this hack, of things going on with it, you know, I'm more than happy not only to like discuss things, but like I said, share the ROM out and just kind of get you guys' feedback on how this game should release. Because in my head originally, I wanted to have 7 main dungeons in this world, 3 kind of mini dungeon puzzle oriented shrine type things in the, you know, this game's version of the Dark World, and then like a final gauntlet dungeon essentially. And the 3 shrine dungeons would really give you access to the final sword, the level 4 sword. And in my head, you know, you get the level 4 sword, that's how you access the final dungeon. Now, I just wonder if maybe just because I have such, you know, large ideas, I guess in that sense. I mean, that's a lot of game development to do. It, you know, it's taken me this long just to get 3.5, not even kind of dungeons ready for people to actually play. And granted, a lot of that has to do with the lack of motivation. If I really buckled down and finished it, I totally could. But also just in terms of like, I kind of had this idea of maybe making the 7 dungeons in the final dungeon and kind of holding off on those temple dungeons and maybe releasing an update of some sort later on. But then I worry maybe I'll get bogged down too much in like the beta testing and the, you know, finalizing things like dialogue that would eventually change in later updates. So I just want to kind of know if you guys want more of a rolling release and if I should accommodate the development for that type of style. You know, it's definitely different than just like straight up releasing a ROM hack, but it is something I kind of consider that might, you know, give people something to play, and then you just, you know, you load up the new ROM with your save state and you'll be able to try out 3 new dungeons in a different overworld. Or if I should just try to, in its entirety, complete the hack and, you know, just keep steaming forward. I know there's definitely going to be some purists that want that. There's going to be some people who just want to play the game. And I just kind of want to get a feel for what, I don't know, what more people, I don't know if I want to go with majority rule, but maybe if you want to make a, you know, a decent argument as to why it should be one way or the other, I feel like that would be a good motivator for me. Because whenever I get emails from people asking about the ROM hack, hoping it's doing good, or people talking to me on Twitter or even Instagram, you know, it does make me like, it's motivating. It makes me feel good. I'm glad that people see this and they see something out of it, because I have put so many years of my life into it and it's been around for so long. I do identify with this game heavily, and I want to see it through. I got my ideas, you know, I got lots of plans for it. It's just that getting that motivation and also just hoping that it's, you know, the best thing it can be, making sure that it turns out right, you know. Let's see what else. So yeah, I mean that's basically kind of all I wanted to cover for the most part. You know, what should I do before we get out of here? You know, I got a lot of dialogue to change. There were some things I wrote when I started making the game that just kind of need some fixing up. So that's another thing that needs to get tackled, is dialogue, and then little like graphical errors, little bugs here and there. But that's all stuff that can be addressed with time. But basically, you know, this is just me kind of signaling that, yeah, like the hack's still going. I haven't forgotten about it. And if anything, people participating, people engaging with me, I feel like would be a good motivator for me to continue working on it and give updates on it, as well as, you know, I plan on doing more with this channel and kind of updating on things I'm doing, and if a lot of that has to do with Oracle of Secrets related content, or maybe more Hyrule Magic content, if you guys want to see stuff related to that, maybe me hacking the code of Hyrule Magic or more of the tutorials, whatever you want to see, you know, I'd love to hear what you'd like to see, and I think that'd be a good motivator for me. And, you know, along the way, if I start including other projects I'm doing, that would be cool too, if you guys are interested in that stuff I'm working on, that I'm programming. I just want to have just a place to put my creative out, be my creative outlet. And at the risk of, making this video go on for too long, yeah, just give me your feedback on the things I've talked about here. And if you want to play the game, yeah, just give me an email or add me on Discord, and I'll totally accommodate. I can send it out to people. I got no issue with that. But otherwise, I basically touched on everything. I'm just, also if you want to check out my websites, like I said, I'd appreciate it. I got ads running, so, we got to pay the bills out here. You gotta click them ads. So yeah, this is Justin Scoffle, ROM Hacker Moagami, whatever you want to call me, man. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me Instagram, Scoffle. That's what's up.